Hi, everybody. So, I had a good question from someone yesterday that I wanted to share in the group and spark some conversation about stress. So, this young friend, she's a young single adult. She doesn't have children yet. And so, she was asking me, how do you do all that you do and have kids on top of everything? So, she asked, how do you find a balance and not get stressed? And so I loved her question because I thought, that's how I used to think, or how I do sometimes think about other people when all I see is a small sliver of their life. And I think, boy, they've just got it all put together and they know what to do. And, and they just seem to be so capable and able to handle everything with so much grace. They probably never feel upset. Their children are all just perfectly well behaved and the house is clean, right? I've thought that of people. But I don't anymore. I realize we all have the messy corner in the back, in the room. Um, but I just love that question. How do you find a balance and not get stressed? And so what I said to her is, um, the truth is, it's a daily juggle. It's a daily juggle. There is stress every single day, and right now I feel a lot more stressed than usual because I am planning some big events coming up, and but I also have learned that there's going to be stress every day. And if I'm experiencing stress, it doesn't necessarily mean that something has gone wrong, that I've done something wrong, that there's a crisis. There is going to be stress all the time. It's inevitable. And I think it's helpful to think about stress as not purely bad. Sometimes we do need a little bit of stress to get us up and off the couch and moving and getting something done, because we're like, oh no, what would happen if I don't get this thing done, and I feel this pressure, and I have this responsibility and people are counting on me and I need to do this thing. That can feel like a lot, but we get moving and then we accomplish it and we feel relief, hopefully, right? But I think the same thing of anxiety. We're talking a lot about anxiety right now in our society, which I think is really important because there are a lot of people feeling extreme amounts of anxiety. But I also think that we're feeling fear of anxiety and fear of stress. And if we're experiencing some anxiety or some stress that we've done something wrong, there's a crisis, I need to see a doctor, I need to get professional help. And yes, sometimes we have to get help and we need it right away. But I think we also need to step back and say, but stress helps me to move. It can help me to move. Anxiety can also help me to move. And it's funny because it sounds like anxiety, the problem these days is that people get anxious and then they shut down, which does happen. But I noticed when I'm preparing for a presentation or a class or a workshop or something like that, I start to think of like worst case scenario. That's anxiety. A little bit saying, what if my laptop dies on me? Well, I better make sure that my charging cable's in my bag because that has happened before and I can't access the PowerPoint. And so I've got it saved on a backup drive. And what if they don't have chalk? I'm going to have chalk. Or what if they don't have whiteboard markers? I have my own. What if they don't have a whiteboard? I have my own. So I'm thinking about what could possibly go wrong, but not to the level of, therefore, I should just stay home. I should hide. I should pull the covers over my head and pretend like I don't exist. That's extreme, right? But a little bit of anxiety is going to help me to move and get my preparations done and be prepared for, these unpleasant and uncomfortable or embarrassing situations. I'm going to go to the store with my kids. I don't want them to have to use the bathroom there. We're going to go to the bathroom now. Is that a little bit of anxiety maybe? Like, oh, what if we're in line with our shopping carts full and the kids now say they need to go to the bathroom? That happens. So I want to avoid that. So a little bit of anxiety helps me to prepare for the future. And a little bit of stress helps me to go. But when I am being mindful and respectful of my body, and I do think about this a lot, And I've been a lot more careful this week, even making sure I'm getting out to get a walk, to go for a walk, or to do a workout video or something, because I do value and respect my body and my health. And I don't want to have poor health. I don't want to run myself into the ground, which I've done many times in my life. And then I'm like crashed on the couch and I'm so tired, I can't move. And it takes a few hours to finally be able to function. Yeah, I've done that. So I have to be careful of that. And so lately I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, okay, what can I delegate? What can I offload? Ooh, I need to have time to just lie down. Even if I'm checking email, lying down in my bed, that's better than me sitting up and, just it's easier on my heart. And I have a heart condition, so I do have to be careful. But anyways, I think that we also need to give ourselves grace when we're maybe comparing ourselves to other people and realize they're not there where they are because of it just all landing in their lap all at once. So 21 years ago, when I had my first baby, that's all I did. I went to church, I hung out with friends, I took care of my baby, and spent time with my husband. We loved to play card games and stuff like that back in when things were slower and easier back then. And that's all I did. And it wasn't till later then I had another child. And then later I had another child. And then I have 6 altogether. It's over 14 years. So, and then at some point I started sewing. I started a sewing business. I was selling things on Etsy. I was shipping all over the country. And I mean, then was going to have my 5th baby. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I guess I'll pause my shop. And then I got pregnant again, like 10 months later at 37. And so Etsy never came back. So I never had that shop again, but I've done other things. I also run a nonprofit. I do my business. I serve on, I don't know, several committees and visits, community meetings of all kinds all throughout the month. I just have tons going on. I do. But what I have now is a lot more than I had back then. And it's just incrementally grown. And as it has grown, and I've had painful growing, stretching seasons, adding a new baby, that's a painful stretching season. And then your capacity expands and your abilities increase and you get a little more used to it, a little more comfortable. And then you have another baby or something else happens, start a new job or you move or something happens. And then you have to have a kind of a painful stretching season and then you kind of settle into it. And then you keep going, but there's still going to be stress all the time. Every day there's stress. But that's the thing, like it waxes and wanes. And so when you're in a period where it feels like there's a lot and it's really hard, don't tell yourself that you are the problem. Don't tell yourself that your circumstances are beyond surviving. Like you can survive, you can thrive, and you can find ways to offload. You can ask for help. You can, do more research and learn more about the situation and what you can do, find out what your resources are. There are a lot of things and ways that we can be resourceful, and that can expand our capacity and we grow into it. And then we find we're capable of doing more. And, I remember when I had 2 kids and I was like, Mom, how did you do this with 5? And she was like, oh, don't worry. You'll grow into it. You'll grow into it. You want to have more kids? Don't worry. You'll grow into it. And what a great lesson for my mom. And I ended up having one more than she did. But my mom we lived overseas. We were moving and going to other countries because of my dad's job. And she had to really figure it out in foreign countries where she didn't speak the language. And, 30, 40 years ago, not everybody spoke English like they do today, especially in Europe. I mean, everybody speaks English now practically. But I love that she said, don't worry, you'll grow into it. And so that's what I'd like to share for any of you who find yourself looking at other women and saying, how do they do all that? I'm so less than because I have less to do and I'm overwhelmed. Yeah, You are overwhelmed. You have a lot. Whatever you have is the most you've ever had. And you're in a stretching season. I've many times have heard women say to me from when I had like 4 kids all the way up to 6, how do you do it? I only have 1 or 2. I just can't imagine, and I don't know how you do it. And I'm just like, you know what? Whether you have 1 or you have 10, that's the most you've ever had. So if you have 1 child, don't beat yourself up. 1 is a lot. If you have 2, that's a lot. If you have 11, I praise you. And I'm going to put your name on a plaque and I'm going to honor you. But those women their capacity has expanded and increased as well. And I honor that in them. But I also honor it in myself. It has grown. I have become so much more capable of handling a lot. Because I just have been for so long. But I have to be careful with myself and realize when I am taking on too much. I need to take a break. I need to take a breather. I need to lie down. I need to just watch a movie, put my laptop away, not do any work, and just chill with my kids. Yeah, that's what I'm doing tonight, right after this. But yeah, be compassionate of yourself and just know that you are going to grow. You are going to increase your capacity. Keep going. Ask for help. Ask for support. Call someone up and say, hey, can we spend time together? I really need a friend right now. Do that. Call me. Let's hang out. Let's meet up at Susu's. I want some popcorn. Or at the park. I love being outside. But anyways, I just want to honor all of you women. Every person, you have big, heavy loads. But look back, you'll see how much you have grown and how your capacity has increased. And take that as a comfort, knowing that your capacity will just continue increasing as you stretch and as you grow and as you learn and gain wisdom and experience. But also be wise and see what you do need to cut out of your life, what you need to reduce, what you do need to add in that would bring more resilience, like taking care of your body, eating well, sleeping more hours, trying to anyways, getting exercise. All these things are going to replenish you and make your nervous system more resilient and calm and just feel hopeful instead of hopeless. But the capacity is there, and it's going to grow and it's going to increase. So thank you so much for listening. Add in the comments anything that comes to your mind. What have you experienced about stress? What have you experienced about anxiety? How do you see that they actually can help you in small doses? And what do you do when you realize you've got too much on your plate? What are strategies that you have? I'd love to hear, because I can learn from anyone. I need lots of learning. I need lots of guidance, and I'm happy to hear from each of you. So I hope you're all having a great evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.